once again. So, sir, everything is good to go. So we can start. Over to you.
Just wait a second. I'm just confirming on Facebook.
Okay, fine.
Just a second.
Yeah. While sir is
We are. I think everything is working fine.
okay, great.
Okay, last time what we did was basically discussed SQL and how SQL is making a comeback even on websites that are basically highly scalable because of serverless, new kind of serverless databases that are compatible with Postgres and MySQL. At this stage, I'd like to mention 3 databases. One is Amazon Aurora Serverless. The other one is Azure Hyperscale. And the third one, which has just recently been announced, is Cockroach DB Serverless. These are 3 databases which are highly scalable and are compatible with Postgres. Today, I think somebody voice is coming from behind. Hamza, please mute your mic. Today, Uwais is going to basically take us through SQL book. Today is our last day for SQL, and we will, from next class, we will basically start working on Open API. We have covered GraphQL, and there are 2 specifications for APIs. One is GraphQL APIs, other one is Open APIs. And this is going to be the next topic. The Open APIs are going to be our last topic for APIs, and then we will move over to blockchain. Uwais, it is handed over to you.
Okay, thank you, sir. In the last class, we have just seen, and Sir Anis shows us that how you can connect the PostgreSQL with the local host environment. Today, we will see how we can connect our serverless Cockroach DB with the same DB viewer, which we have used in the last class. So let me share my screen. I think it's visible to all of you.
Yes.
Okay. When you log in into your Cockroach DB account, you have nothing, just a screen with a create cluster. This is the second screen. When you log in into your account, you have 2 options, whether you have to create a free cluster and there is a paid option. So go for the free cluster, in which you got the 5 GB free for the testing purpose. After that, what you have to do is you have to create a cluster. Cluster is basically doing creating your free database, the serverless database in the Cockroach DB. So what we have to do is create our cluster. It will load the data and create a database on the Cockroach DB for yourself.
So it is available on cockroachlabs.cloud.
Yeah, you have to go to the link and have to create the account, and then you can just create all of that. Let me share the link to the chat also.
The good thing about it is forever free. A serverless database, if you're not using extensively,
yes,
it is a very good option for small websites and small applications.
Exactly. Now, after the cluster is created, it will give you some option that how you want to connect it with your environment database in management environment. So on the tab on the top, you have to go to the connection parameters. Here you have the some details which you need to connect with the DB. So let me come to the DB. Here you have to go and create a new connection database. In new connection database, you have to search for the cocroach DB. At the first time when you click on that, you have to just install some driver. It will automatically do this for you. After the driver install, you have that screen. So what you have to do is copy the information what the cocroach DB provided you on their site. Let me just copy it. The username goes into the username field. Host name goes to the host name. Port is same. Database. The password. After creating and inserting all the things, just go and click on the finish. Now here, if you see, it's connecting and establishing a connection to our database. Now the database is connected to the cocroach DB. Everything is same as we have just done in the last class, but the difference is between in this and that. We are using the PostgreSQL, which is a local database environment for our local machine. Now we are using a serverless database, which is based on the web application, and we do not have to configure anything. You just have to go and paste the configuration file and the configuration string here, and you are ready to go. And everything is same as we have just done in the last class.
Sir, is cocroach DB is a AWS service?
No,
No.
it's a different than AWS service. It's a different.
It's a
Provider.
different company.
Like
Yeah.
MongoDB?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's actually idea is that this is our independent company, but it provides I guess as far as remember, Sir Zia could confirm that it's provide some AWS related services. If we will go for a I guess pro license or some license other
What
than
it
the
does-
free version. Am I
Manish,
right, Sir Zia?
What it does is basically provides on top of AWS provides a cocroach DB web service, serverless
Yeah,
service.
this is yeah. I guess this is the answer he needs.
Okay, after the table, after the connection is established, what you have to do is you have to just run and go through the queries what you are doing in the last class. All things are same. I'm just showing you guys for the example purpose, so you can just see this. Now here you can see that I have just created a table with the name of colors. In that table, I have a ID and with the integer data type, and there is a name with a voucher. So here you can see we have created our table. We have a column, we have ID and the name. If you want to insert anything in our table, we will go to this. What I want to insert is ID and name. The real value should be 1 and the name should be below. Now the data is insert. So as you can see that you can hear my screen, you can just see my screen, the data is inserted, and you can just perform all the operations likewise you are doing with the PostgreSQL, and it is same to the cocroach DB.
So Aves, sorry. So what did you do? You just go into your account and get the connection string information and paste that connection information string into the DB.
Yes.
Okay, and that was good enough.
Yeah.
Okay, nothing is required.
Yeah. It is just same like PostgreSQL, like we do in the last class. but the data string and the connection string which will be changed. So you have to add one more thing. When you guys create your environment in the Cockroach DB, just remember to copy your password somewhere, because after you close this screen, you can't be able to see your password again. So your cluster will be deleted and you can't connect it to the DB viewer again. So just remember to copy that password so you do not have any trouble if you just disconnect your database from the DB viewer. This is all for the Cockroach DB and the DB viewer. Let me just start with the SQL quick start guide books.
As we started, could you revise it?
The whole connection and
Yes.
the whole procedure we have just done.
Mhm.
Yeah, there is
Once
nothing to nothing to do. Let me just delete that cluster and just me go with this little bit of speed so you can just see that's what we have just done right now. Let me
So
delete
therefore,
this
we are just going to the
all the procedure again.
yeah.
So yeah, the environment is delete, the debugger is clean, and here we have a create cluster screen. On the Cockroach DB, when you just log in first time on the Cockroach DB, you have a screen to create your cluster. What the create cluster is doing is just creating your virtual database on the Cockroach DB. So you can use it directly from there. It will provide you the 5 GB, I think. Yeah, 5 GB storage space with 250 MB of request unit, and it is a free option
Just
for
a
the
second,
practice and for the
SDSP.
small.
Wes, just a second. You have a choice of the cloud provider, AWS, and what are the other choices?
There is the choices of Google Cloud.
also.
Yes.
Mhm.
So here we have the default option of AWS.
So what will be the
Alice?
role of the cloud provider here?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yes, sir. Hello.
Yes, somebody asked a question, but I didn't hear it.
Okay.
I think they are asking that what is the purpose of the cloud provider?
The purpose of the cloud provider is that this software is running on their infrastructure.
Yeah.
And
So they are using the AWS services on the backend side.
yes. And the second thing is what we like about this Cockroach DB is free forever, 250 million request units free, and 5 GB storage free. So that is for small applications, you can have a free database.
Sir, sorry, my introduction was disconnected. Sir, my question is that what is the role of cloud provider here?
That's what I was saying. The software is provided by Cockroach DB, the database software, but it is running on AWS.
But
Let me repeat. I guess his question is when we were using Cockroach DB, what would be the role of the AWS or Google Cloud? The question
Exactly,
is
sir.
very important. Actually, this is the question that we are discussing here. The API economy. You can see yourself what Cockroach DB is doing. They are doing nothing. They have an open source free database which is Postgres, and they have an account with the AWS. What they are doing, they have a contract, they have instances available. When we request that we need some servers or some database size and whatever we need, what they do, they just initiate instances, create instances, and generate anything, and then provide us the last node. If you could remember, or if you see very thoroughly the host name, actually it's an endpoint. It's an API connectivity that route us to an AWS instance. And they have created password and user ID on behalf of us. So you can see that how Cockroach DB utilizing the AWS, their AWS skills and the scalability and lot of things to the for us actually. So here they are not asking us for the money, but whatever we are paying, they have a bulk. I guess the bulk billing, Sarzia would add more, and AWS provide them a lot of instances, and that bulk then they are charging, and from that charges they are also paying the AWS. I guess this is the very great idea. Is a very good example we can follow. We can create our own thing, our own databases, our own GraphQL, and use that thing same as the Cockroach GB is doing. Over to Sarzia.
I was just saying that they are not just copied the open source software SQL. What they did is made it serverless, so that it becomes economical for them.
Yes, sir.
Look at the second option. The dedicated one is expensive. They are only giving it for 30-day trial because it will require a lot of cloud resources. But with serverless, they have developed a technology which uses AWS resources in a very sparing way. So therefore, they can afford to give it free, away for free in the beginning.
Of course. And later on, they can start charging. And this is a very attractive promotion that everybody is using free and they are comfortable. For example, if I'm using this thing and free, so I will recommend my client that my solution would run very well on the Cockroach GB, and then ask them to buy a dedicated instance. That's also a promotion, I guess.
Yes. They don't want to sell you the dedicated. What they want you to do is that after you have used up all the 5 GB storage service, then you start paying them.
Okay, that's great. So it means they, this is some kind of intermediate middleman between our user and the AWS infrastructure.
This is the kind of thing which most API developers do, API providers do. What they want is for you to basically start using this service, and they are giving you incentive to start using the service.
That's great. Yeah, I also heard that, for example, the other people, I guess, Redshift and Snowflake and a lot of other these are people are using the API. Actually, and we have to follow the same idea to build our own API and providing using the AWS and cloud, Google Cloud.
Yes, exactly. Okay, Wes.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
I have a little bit confusion again. Can I ask, sir?
Yeah, please.
Sir, what I understand, Cockroach DB is just a database, and AWS server is connected to the Cockroach DB. When API hit, this strike on AWS or Cockroach DB?
Both. Actually, Cockroach DB is a or any database is a software where you can run that software. Take any example. Of course, you need a hardware, and if we hit actually the endpoint, the Cockroach DB, definitely we were using a shared instance at AWS. So there's no confusion. Actually, you are thinking that Cockroach DB is a package which comes with the hardware and software. This is absolutely wrong. It's a software you can run anywhere. We have run Postgres SQL in our own local server in our last video. So this is not an issue. But actually, the idea or the innovation that Cockroach DB brings us, that they provide that database in the cloud environment. When it is in the cloud environment, it is scalable. We can go beyond without reinstalling. For example, if I want a bigger machine, I have to reinstall a Postgres on that bigger machine. Then I have to transfer the data from my local computer to that bigger machine, and then starting on. After 2 years, 3 years, if I need another bigger machine, I will have to repeat that process once again. But using the cloud infrastructure, which is very scalable, it's nothing. Whenever you need, you pay them more, and they will provide you the more memory, the more CPU, and the more storage.
Actually, Anish, MongoDB is exactly doing the same thing, Bilal. What they are doing is MongoDB is also installed on AWS. It's a software. It can run anywhere. The infrastructure, the machines are provided by AWS, and the software is Cockroach DB software.
Sir, last question is that AWS also provides your database solutions like DynamoDB and others. Why we are moved to there? Because one point solution is available on AWS. This is easy for the clients and for other developers. Why we are moving here?
Why is a very simple answer, because it's free. If you start using AWS service, it is much more expensive than Cockroach DB.
Thank you, sir. Because of the economics reasons. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Look at the thing they are offering. Free forever option, 200 million requests and 5 GB free. AWS is not offering this. And for us, it is the same because it is using a Postgres front end. So therefore, in the end of the class, not in the end of the class, we can use Aurora serverless also. So we have two choices. Could you, Uwais, please unshare your screen for a moment? Let me show them.
Okay.
Now look at this thing. You have Amazon Aurora serverless. I'm going to open that. Azure database. All three are Postgres compatible, and Cockroach DB serverless. Now look at this thing. Aurora serverless. You can see my screen. You can use that. They are about to come up with the serverless version 2, which might have a better pricing, but right now the pricing is not right. The second one is Azure database, which is hyperscale. It is also Postgres compatible. And the third one is Cockroach DB. So therefore, for all practical purposes, for us, because it is all of them are Postgres compatible, for us, all three are the same. Anybody who offers us a better price, we will go with them. No, you understand the point, my friend?
Thank you, sir. I'm exactly understanding what you're trying to say. Thanks a lot, sir.
And the second thing is, if you go to our repository, we are not going to cover it because click on this Amazon Aurora serverless with CDK. If you go to full stack serverless CDK repository, it has already been documented. So therefore, and already the videos are there for it. So how to connect to Aurora serverless. So therefore, we did not use this in our class because it's already been recorded and the link is there. So if you want to use Aurora serverless with AWS, you go to step number 38 and use it. And if you use Cockroach DB, want to use whatever price you like. Of course, we have not covered Azure, but right now that is beyond the scope of our class. So therefore, we have given you two options. Either use Aurora serverless, which is this one, or Cockroach DB serverless. Or you can also use hyperscale Azure database. And others are also coming up. Other companies are right now. This is going to be a fierce competitive area. Any other question?
Sir, no, for me. Maybe other people can.
Now, Wes, you can start sharing again. Yes, Bashir, you are right. You are understanding correct. The APIs will run. The database APIs will be running on AWS and it will hit there. Yes, Wes, please continue.
Okay. So after you select your configuration plan and cloud provider, you just have to do and click on the create your free cluster button. Then it will create a free cluster for you on the Cockroach DB. So you can use it on the DB work. After the cluster is created successfully, it will give you the connection parameters. In the third tab, you can see all your configuration here. Now what you have to do is go to the dbeaver and go to the create new connection.
dbeaver
Then-
is basically a connection, universal database connector.
Exactly. At the first time, you have to search for the cocroach DB. After you select this, you have to install your driver. It will automatically install on dbeaver. Then click on the next button. Then it will require you the required information, which you have to just paste from the information you have just got from here. Copy your username, the host name, database name, and your password. Make sure you save your password somewhere. After everything is done, it will create a connection for you. Now, when the loading is done, that's when the connection is created successfully. Then you can create all your operations over to the cocroach DB. That's it.
And you can now create a table. Just go ahead and give a create table command just to make sure that.
So as you can see, the create table is created in the schema, and in the public folder, you can see the table which you have just created. Let me refresh it. So the table is created successfully. So should I move to the inside example, sir? Or
Yes, now. Yeah, go.
Okay.
No, the thing is you have already covered
Yeah.
it. It's in your video. Anybody wants to see it again, they can go ahead and see it. Now let's move on to the SQL book and just revise it.
Okay. The SQL book is shared on our GitHub repository too, and in our group too. So basically, what we have done until now, and in the last class, where Sir Anis covered a lot of the topic in that class. So now we will see all those topic in the light of the book. That what are the theoretically examples and the explanation the book is saying. We're going to start with our chapter 1. Understanding the database structure. So for the people who are viewing this class for the first time, it will also recap for all of them and the introduction. Before we going further to the database and all those things, we have to understand that what is the basically database and what is the structure of the database. So in this chapter, what we'll going to do is we will look forward to the understanding the language of the database we will use, how our relational database functions, what is the data type, and the relational database management systems. So in the first chapter, the fundamental theory is the data. What is data? A data is a piece of information. Data is simply the plural form of data. The data appears everywhere and it's contain everything, but for the practical purpose, the term data is generally refers to the recorded or recordable information. One of the simplest tools used to record and visualize the data is table, and a table is merely a two-dimensional grid consisted of rows and columns. Now, what is rows and columns? We will look forward further for with that. Now, there is two things actually. The whole graphic representation is showing us that there is a table. What is a table? In the table, we have a different kind of rows. This is the row, the one row, and this is the column like the user ID, name, date of birth, height. This is the column, and this is the row. The horizontal thing is the row, and in the vertical, we have our columns. So the together we have a different kind of data in one table. So this is the example, and what you can see the data and what is the table should be. The table is consist multiple data, and a table can consist of multiple rows and columns too. Here, the book is saying this, there is a database, and in the database, we have tables. And in that table, we have some records. As we have just covered, the rows in a given table are considered records. So as I've just said that the horizontal row is considered as a record. They may also be referred as a tuples, and the columns in a table generally be referred to as an fields. They also called the attributes. So the columns, you can also say them the field, and they can also be called the attributes. It is a clear terminology summary. Terms we will use and throughout this book so the people can know that what is the record and the row is same as tuple. The field and column can also be called an attribute, and the table can also be called a relation and base value. So there is a graphical representation what the field and record is basically. As you can see that the whole structure is in under the table column, and we have our fields here, and after that we have our records which are considering of this row, and altogether they are becoming a one data source which is stored in our database. Now there is some example for the primary key and the foreign key. The patient ID is our primary key, and the foreign key ID is the primary care doctor ID, which we have just seen in the last class, like how you can use the primary key and attach a foreign key from another table. This is the ERD diagram representation and the relationship and the graphical representation of the primary key and the foreign key, that what keys are combined together with another table. They are just creating two tables. One is for the supplier and the second for the products. Now here they are showing us the representation of the foreign key. The composite key, as we have just seen in the last class, the composite key is the combination of the data that populates that field used to form a composite key. So to create a new key or a unique key, we use the composite key. Type of data, there must be a type. So here you have a numeric data types, which includes the numeric data includes the integer, which are the whole number that do not use the decimal. Usually when an integer data type is used, it comes with some form of limitation on its length. So you have to just make a considerable, like there is an integer with a 32-bit and that kind of thing. Here, the integer, this is the example of the integer, how you can say that the integer is formed without any decimal, and if there is a point value in that, it will call the decimal value. If there is no decimal value in that, it will call the integer. Now after that, if you have any character, any string based or any text based type of, so for that we will use the varchar. Okay, after that there is a type of dates and time. You can also define your date and types in your database, and there is a boolean types which is comes with a true and false value. The select statement, as we have just seen, that what the select statement is do, it will select a specific data and from where you will require that data. So there is a select a data from any database, the database name will goes there, and it will get the required data from that. So as you can see that select top 10 all from the product. So it will just do that, select the top 10 column from the products, and it will show you the result. And in the select column, we will also limit the products and the data which we have required. So for example, in the example, we have a limit of 10. So what the limitation is doing is limit the data to only at 10 resulted rows. We will also see about the queries, statement, clauses, and keywords. What are they? So in the queries, we have just seen that there is a select query. In this diagram, they are just defining the structure of the select query. How, if you want to select anything, what will the requirement of this SQL statement? So it will be successfully consider your requirement and run it on the database. So first you have to do is use the select clause, and in the select clause, if you want any specific fields, define the field name here and from which table you want. So give the from clause and the table name. And if you want the order by, you can just order by, or you can ignore it, and it will just create your desired query and run it accordingly. This is the introduction of SQLite. We'll not covering the SQLite here because we are working on the PostgreSQL. So we will look the quick forward. What we have just covered is that there is a data table with two-dimensional grid of rows and column, which we have just covered in this chapter. Is that there is a table with a two-dimension grid, the rows and the column, that contains all our data. So there's a whole row and there's a column vertically, which consider and the replay include in our table. There's the data can exist as a variety and different data types, such as a string of text, number, or special character. Metadata describe the nature of format of the data, including any minimum value and the maximum character length. If you require it, you can also define and limit the data which you have just required and in the database. Relational database can be contain many tables. Each table in a relational database should have a primary key that serve as a unique identifier for that table. This is the thing which we have just covered in the last class. A foreign key is any column in a table that exists as a primary key in another table. As the relationship between the tables and their primary and the foreign key is called the database schema, and can be shown visually by an entity relationship diagram, ERD, which function as a blueprint for the database. If you want a graphical representation of your table, you can use the ERD. So there you can see all your foreign key, what the happening on the ERD side and the design system. There are a variety of different relationship database management. As you can see that in this, they have example of Oracle database, Microsoft SQL Server, and all this. In our example and in our classes, we are using the dbeaver for that. The select keyword is the most common SQL command used in the SQL queries. SQL statement can contain multiple clauses using different SQL keyword. Up till now, does anyone have any question related to the chapter 1? If not, we can move forward to the chapter 4, because in the next chapter, they are using the SQLite example. I think we have to move to the chapter 4. So yeah, in this chapter, we will briefly see that what is the query and how you can just give the query and output the filtration. We will study about this, getting started with the queries. In this chapter, we will cover the query notation techniques, SQL query basics, using an alias. What is an alias and how you can sort the result alphabetically, limit the result, and data analysis checkpoint. They're just saying that how you can pass the line of command and the command block. Now, this is the main point. What database are we speaking to? So in the query, whenever you pass a query to the database and the SQL statement, you have to define that what database are we speaking to, what table within that database are we requesting data from, what field within that table are we interested in, and do we want to exclude any data, filter or omit any range or time in period. In one concise sentence, what does our query do? So this is the structure and the human possible way, the readable way. If you want any data from the table, how you can do it. We will see this. They're just saying that how you can execute your query in the dbeaver. Go to the SQL. SQL will create a new script for you. Here you can type your script, like whatever you want. Now we will see that. For example, we have created our table. If I say that in the table, just select the column name from the colors table. And if I run it, it will give me the name because we did not insert any item in that. Let me insert it quickly. Now in the select statement, what I have to is that I want only name from the table of colors. Now you can see that it will just give me the name column with the data red, blue, and orange. If I see, if I use this static here, then it will also give me the ID. The static means just grab all the data from the colors. But if you want any specific data from any field, like here, I'm just doing that. Give me the specific data from the column name. It will just give me the name from that table. This is what they are saying in this line. Adding an alias, you can just create an alias for you. This, for example, if you want something else, you have some other name in your column defining when you are just creating your column. And if you want to say that the first name should be as like that and the last name should be as like that, as it is referring for the alias for that, so you can just change the name for your identification purpose. So here they are just saying that without alias there is a no space in between them. With alias they have a different space and the email text is also changed. Using the order by clause, the order by is basically for the order by in which order you want. The ascending order, the descending order. So if I do the order by name, now as you can see, the order is changed. If I do ascending, you can just filter and order your data by that. This all comes in the select query. So we are studying briefly what you can do with the select query. So you can do both the ascending and descending at one time. And if you want any specific requirement, so you can limit this by the limitation of 10, that how many rows you want. This is it. We have seen in that how you can add the comments When composing a query, it is helpful to phrase that a basic query structure. We have just seen the basic query structure with the select clause that specify that fields to display from the table specify and the from clause. What it basically it was saying is that we have seen that how you can select the data from the database. We have seen that how you can use the alias in the select query and how you can use the order by using the ascending and descending orders. And you can also limit the limitation in the order by, or we can limit it by itself by the keyword of limit. Now, turning data into the information, how you can just create your data more representable in to show the data in an informational way. So for that, in this chapter, we will cover the operators, that what operators we can use in SQL, what is the purpose of the where clause, and searching for the text using the wildcard values. And we will see about the data function using the or and together, the case statement and the data analysis checkmark. So in the select statement, we will see what kind of comparison and logical arithmetic operators we have. So as you can see that the type of operators, and you guys already know about it, the is equal to, greater than operator, less than operator, greater than equal to operator, less than and equal to operator, not equal to. In the logical form, we have a between, in, like, and or, and arithmetic side, we have a plus, minus, divide, and multiply, and the modulo, the percentage sign. So for example, if you want to add any data in your database, so you can add it using the plus sign. And if you want to using the any alias name, you can just use it like that. And you can just add the data and the subtract it, everything you can do at the select query time. So the data will be represented by that accordingly. So we bring the records by number with the where clause. For example, if I come here, if I say that using the where clause, select the name from colors where the name should be just red. It will give me the just red column. So for filtering the data with text, you can use a where, and we will see that like how many times you can use it and what are the variation and techniques for that. So in that example, they are saying that select the table, select the invoice data, billing address, and the billing city and the total. They are just referring to the columns, that what columns they want to filter. Now, after that filtering from the invoices, where the total is equal to 1.98 and order by the invoice date. Let's see. So as you can see that in the example, we have the data where the total is equal to the 1.98. There is nothing and there is no other data comes from that. And there is a different example, and there is a also a between and use of. You can also use the between and. So for example, in the between, they are just providing the minimum value, and after that, using the and keyword, they are using the maximum value, that what they want. So in the between of 1.98 and the 5.0 range, just give us the invoice date. So as you can see in the example, we have a data coming from the database is 1.98 and the maximum value is 3.96. There's no greater value above the 5.0. There is another example which is using the in. There's a 1.98 and there is a 3.96. We will see that what they are using. They're just considering those values and representing us only those values which are in the in tag, in keyword. Filtering the records by text, we have just done it. You have to give in the billing city where the city is equal to the Tucson. So as you can see that the only city is using the Tucson is showing on the example. There is a 3 city Now the data will be come from the specific from these three cities in the example. So as you can see, there's only those three cities which are provided in the in tag. Only those are showing in our example. Now using the like operator to search for the wildcards. You can say that in the previous example, we have used the equal operator to search exactly the text form. For example, if you do not know what exact data you want, for example, I want any data which is starting with the letter of T. So how can I use this? So for that, we will use the like keyword with the attribute of the percentage of T. I like that. So for example, if you want in your database, there is something which is starting with the letter of T, but you do not know what exactly data you want. You just want all the letter uh, starting with T. So you just give it like that, use the like keyword and give it like that with the percentage sign. So what it will do, it will give you the all the data by that. Let me check the example of that. This is the main chart. If you use it like that, finds all record beginning with the T. And if you use the modular wildcard usage like that, it will use the find all record ending with T. And if you do this both and in between the word, finds all the record with T in the middle of the string of text. And in the fourth example, finds all record beginning and ending with the T. This is the usage and how you can use the word wildcard usage. You can also filter the data by the date. What you have to do is just given the defined data date format, and you have your data like that.
Sir, sorry for interruption. Sir, when we are add a search bar in our website, like e-commerce and other type of website, the
Yeah.
queries that we create behind the front end is like that the query that you show above. Can you scroll above?
The like query you are saying?
And I'm saying, yeah, this is a slicing query.
Yeah.
So is this working behind that?
Yeah, sure. It will because in the backend side and your search bar, you can define it like that if there is any keyword which is coming from the text box. For example, if I just enter the text box only the alphabet A. So what it will do, it will go to the database and it will search all the alphabetically that if there is any result for the A alphabet, so it will show you directly the result you have just entered in the text box.
My question is there.
Mhm.
Two things are different. One thing is searching all the queries started from A, and other thing is that how can we know or system know if we are trying to find the only keyword that has end with T or start with T. This is my
For
exact
example,
question.
actually, there is a table which we are defining in your query. For example, if you are in a products page in your application, you have a products and you are on the product page. Now in the query, you will order it by from your products page. In this example, we are filtering our data from the invoices table. So exactly in the page where you are referring, the data is where the data is coming from, at which table and which database that table is located, and what table required you and what specific data you want. For example, in the product, I will search the keyword like from the product table. So if I search a alphabet from the A, it will give all the A products starting with the A. It will show me display all the products from the table of product.
You basically trying to say that when we query product start from A, they will return all of the A, but never be return at the end of the A or between anywhere in A. Am I right?
Yeah, it's depend on the query how you are passing. As you can see in the chart, this is the structure. If you follow that, find all record beginning with T. So it will give and go to your database and it will search the alphabet like that. If you want that, if there is a data, find all record beginning and ending with T. So it will filter like that. So you have to specify that what data you want from what table, and it will hit like that.
Actually, at the Amazon, actually at the websites like Amazon, in which we are searching the products, we are not searching a product that contains a T or where a T comes at the end of the product. We normally search a product which is starting with alphabet T. So there would be that query, not other queries.
I'm not saying that what query, it's depend on you, what you want to use it. I'm just explaining that that what you can do in the select query. So you have all the formats.
But problem is there, who was asking about that, the example of Amazon, exactly says that Amazon have the millions of product. When I strike the query, product start from the T, they will return all of the product in the database. This will be the mess and crash the website.
Of
Yeah,
course,
yeah.
it will let me add some point from here. Hello, Aves, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Actually, you are absolutely right. It would happen, and it will take a lot of time, and the query will goes for 7 hours or even 10 hours, or this is all possible. And it happens very regularly in so many areas. Even I experience such things that some people start a query that runs 12 hours, 13 hours, and 15 hours, and I have to forcefully kill. So what is your issue? If you you want that this is wrong, or you want that, what should we do that?
Actually, this is because we have to use a limit. At one page, you have a limit of showing the product of 50.
Actually,
or
this is simply an option. This
Yeah.
is simply an option. It's up to you.
How you use that query.
Aves will tell you further information that we will add these type of clauses with the limits. Of course, limits is there, and also with some sort of other where clause, maybe some other care. For example, data belongs to a certain months and belongs to this and that. But the very good thing in scalable SQL that we can run this query, and it query would run, and maybe within 1 or 2 hours it could provide you the result. Let's talk about the Google. If I say I want to search a certain things, what do you mean? The Google won't search? So if Google search, so why database won't search? So if you describe your concern more appropriately, or in a more better or some descriptive way, so we will provide you a better solution. Please go on.
Yeah, actually, sir, Sir Anis, I'm just reading somewhere. It's not about how you can write the queries. It's about how you design the queries for the database purpose.
Yeah, this is very common. For example, compare it with the Google query. When we say Google, show me the people whose name starts with Muhammad Aves, for example, it won't say that query would crash me on this type of thing. It definitely give us the result, and within a very few seconds, maybe less than a second. But the issue is that, as you said very appropriately, that it will give you a limit. It will send us the few most appropriate results, for example, 10, 20, or 50, which is very nice to have. And if you want to extend more, we can search more. So this is the very common approach in searching. So nothing special in database searching. You can easily compare with and get some idea from other searches, for example, Google and Yahoo and email search. It's happened everywhere. That always give you a subset of the search data.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So does anyone has any question? They can ask to Sir Anis. If not, we can move forward. So in that, they are just saying that how you can use the separate fields, like they are using the and the or operators here. So they are just filtering the data with the date and the total. So there is a data from the date and total. After that, there is a or operator. Just similar like that. There should be two things. In that, there is a greater than operator. What they are filtering is the total amount with the billing city, where where is the city starting with the P, or where is the billing city ending with the D, letter D. So as you can see, there is a doubling with the D. So it is filter out the filtering city with the D. The case statement, and the case statement actually what it does do, it will add a temporary field in your statement. We can see that. And the query. Now select these three or these four columns, the invoice date, billing address, and the billing city and the total. In the case when the total is less than $2, then it is a baseline purchase. This is a condition using the when. Now, when the total is between the $2 and the $6, then it is a low purchase. When the total is between 7 and 15, then it is a targeted purchase. Else, it is a top performance. And as the purchase type is the column name what it will add in the table. So what it will do when you run this query, it will check the total. If the total is less than 2, it will add this baseline purchase row. If the total is in between those, it will add the low purchase row. As like that, if it's between in the 7 and 15, then it will add the targeted purchase. Otherwise, it is a top performance and as a purchase type. So as we can see in the example, what it will do, it add a new column for us, the purchase type. And in that purchase type, it will add our result, which we given in the when attribute using the when attribute. So it will temporarily add a new field in your database. And when you just run them, it will just add it and show you the result like that. For example of the case. So up till now, we see that how many operators we can use in the SQL keywords using the where clause, how you can use the where clause, how you can use the date method, and the using of the operators like and or and the case statement. This is for it. For the 5th chapter. Now we will see the 6th chapter, working with multiple tables, introducing of joins, join and relational database structure, joins and aliases, inner join, left auto join, and right auto joins, join and more than 2 tables. This is like that. So up till now, we have just covered that if you want data from our single table, so we use that select statement and we just display our data. But if we what if we want the data from 2 different tables? So in that case, we will use the join. What are joins? A join is a command that combines the fields from 2 or more tables of a relation database. Let's take a look at a very simple example using the invoices table and in our student database. We have in this example, they have two tables. The one is invoices and the second table is the S tunes. We have worked with the invoices table extensively in the previous chapter. So by now we should be similar with the fields and this particular table. As we can see from the browse data tab of the SQL browser, the invoices table has a 9 field. Each invoices has an identification number known as invoice ID. So what they are just doing that they are combining the both table of the invoices and the STUN table. In the invoices table, they have an invoice ID, and in the second table, they have a customer ID. So using the join keyword, what they are doing is they are joining the they are using the inner join. So in the select all from the invoices and join the inner join on which table in the invoices they have a customer ID which is equal to the customer ID of the customer ID in the field of customer tables. So they are joining the both customer ID fields in one table. So as you can see that there is a customer ID and there is an invoice ID. So they have all combined data and form and display the combined data result in one query. How they react with each other. You can see that this is the ERD diagram. Now they are using the aliases in the join. The as refer that in the inner join using the as is a customer for the C, and using the aliases they are just referring to each other, the same structure we have just see in the previous example, that in the I dot customer ID is equal to the C dot customer ID. What it will do, it will join both of the table in the queue. Join types and their differences.
Always by I have sent a picture through which we can easily understand joins.
We will check it. Thank you. Now this is a different kind of join example you guys can see. The inner join only returns the matching records. Any unmatched data from the ether table is ignored. So joins are often described with a Venn diagram. As you can see, this only return the match item in the inner join. And we have also the outer join. A left outer join combines all the data from the left table with any matching record from the right table. So it will give all the records in the left table on the left hand side, which is just matching with the customer's table ID. Select all from the invoices as I, left auto join customer as C, on I dot customer ID and is equal to C dot customer ID. It was again they are just comparing the both customer IDs and fetching the result like that.
Would there be some type of foreign key in the other table when we are joining these tables?
No, they are just is checking the same record. For example, in the invoice ID is same with the customer ID. So if the customer ID and the invoice ID is same, just show and fetch the result like that. We are just fetching the result using the select queries. as like that, we have a right auto join. It will the opposite of the left auto join. It will just give you all the result which match the parameters. You can also use the inner joins with more than 2 tables. This is a kind of nested joins and a complicated query, a little bit complicated. That's the example. As you can see, there's a big example for that. So as you can see that they are selecting the columns from the invoice. Then they are just giving the inner join of customer. In customer, they are saying that there is a customer ID. They are comparing both customer ID, and after that, they are also giving another join, which is the employees. Now they are fetching the data also from the employees table. So we have two joins from the multiple tables. So after that, as we can see, there is a first name, last name, and the employee ID and the customer ID. So they are just coming from the 3 different tables and combining it, they are giving us the result. You can also see that if there is a null value or is there is not null, if you just run the query, it will ignore it. If you run it like that and you will just check the outer joins and the inner joins, it will just give you all the result if there is a null or not. But if you want to define, you have to use the not null keyword for the joins. So it will check if there is null. So if then it will just give you the is null, and if there is a not null, then it will give you the not null. There's an example of you can just change them and turning a right join into a left join. Oh yeah. Up till now, we will have seen what are the joins and how we can use the joins in the our select query. The inner joins, auto joins, the left auto joins, the right auto joins. Outer joins include all the row of one table, even when there is no corresponding data between the table. Rows that do not match will show up as null. The special keyword is and not must be used to test for the null values. So yeah, this is the some basic query, and in the last class we have just seen how we can add, insert the data, delete the data, and alter the data. And this is the some topic related to the select queries. So in the next class, hopefully we will move forward to the open API, and you can guys study and briefly that SQL book if you want for your practice. Sir, do you want to add anything?
Yes, I want to share my screen if you allow me to.
Yes, sir. It's all up to you. I've just stopped my screen.
And look at this thing. We are going to cover designing APIs with Swagger and OPI, using open APIs. There are two kinds of APIs. One are the GraphQL APIs, and the other one is the REST APIs. Now we have a standard for the REST APIs as well. We had a standard for GraphQL APIs from the very beginning, but we did not have a standard for REST APIs. Now we have a standard for, this is the latest book. We are going to start covering it from next class. And Anis and Uwais are going to teach you this topic. See you guys in the next class. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good afternoon.